Sahelanthropus. This might be the first human who ever lived, and scientists are still fighting over whether it counts as human at all. It's known from almost nothing, a single crushed skull found in the deserts of Chad, nicknamed Tumai, around 7 million years old, which would make it the oldest member of our family ever found. The team that discovered it said it walked upright, the one thing that would make it ours rather than just another ape. But there's a fight about that, and the fight is ugly. A thigh bone was found at the same site. It was never properly published, and another group of scientists argued it was buried in a drawer on purpose because the bone is curved like a chimpanzee's, and it suggests Tumai never stood up at all. So the oldest human we've ever found might not be a human at all. We're still arguing about it. That's how thin the ground is at the very beginning. And it only gets stranger from here. Lucy, the most famous ancient human who ever lived, a partial skeleton dug out of Ethiopia, 3.2 million years old. She stood 3.5 feet tall and she walked fully upright. We have the footprints to prove it. A family's worth of them pressed into volcanic ash, and yet she probably still slept in the trees and may have died in one. A study of her bones argued the fractures all over her skeleton match a fall from a great height. The most famous upright walker in history likely died falling out of a tree. Then there's the other thing that breaks the story you think you know. She did all that walking with a brain barely bigger than a chimp's, which means we got the order backwards. We didn't get smart and then stand up. We stood up and walked around on 2 legs for millions of years with almost nothing upstairs. The body went human long before the mind did. And one of Lucy's cousins was about to take a turn so strange it became a monster. Paranthropus. Picture a human-shaped creature with the skull of a gorilla, a bony crest running down the top of its head like a mohawk made of bone, anchoring jaw muscles strong enough to crush nuts and grind the toughest roots on the savannah. They called it Nutcracker Man. And here's what's eerie about it. It wasn't our ancestor, it was our neighbor. Paranthropus lived at the very same time as the first members of our own genus, side by side on the same landscape. 2 different experiments in being human-ish, running at once. One bet everything on a giant chewing machine, the other bet on brains. Paranthropus lasted over 1 million years on its strategy, but specializing that hard is a trap. When the climate shifted and its food changed, it couldn't. The chewing machine went extinct, the first of these branches to go dark. The brains kept going, and the brains are where we come from. Homo habilis. The name means handyman, and it's the first of our family you could hand a tool. Just a rock smacked against another rock to strike off a sharp flake. It looks like nothing. It was everything. That edge meant cutting meat off a carcass, cracking bone for the marrow, opening up food no other animal could reach. Its brain was still half the size of yours. But this is the moment one of us stopped just living in the world and started taking it apart. And the next one took that idea and conquered the planet with it. Homo erectus. And this is the one that should stop you. Around 2 million years ago, Homo erectus appears, and it's the first of our family you might actually recognize as one of us. Tall, long-legged, built for endurance, with body proportions close to yours. It was the first human to fully commit to the ground, the first we think tamed fire, the first to cook, and it did something none before it had dared. It left. Homo erectus walked out of Africa and spread across the entire old world. Russia, China, Indonesia. It is the most successful human species that has ever existed. Not us, them. Homo erectus survived for nearly 2 million years. We've been around for 300,000. By that measure, we are nowhere close to their record. We are the new kids who haven't proven anything yet. Homo heidelbergensis. In a German coal mine, archaeologists found wooden spears, perfectly balanced for throwing and 400,000 years old. The oldest hunting weapons on Earth. They belong to this species. Big-brained, skull approaching modern size, builders of shelters, hunters of elephants and rhinos with those spears. This is most likely the creature standing at the fork in the road, the common ancestor that was about to split into the great branches that come next. And the next branch is where the whole story stops being a straight line. The Neanderthals. Forget everything the word makes you picture. They were not stupid brutes. Neanderthals had brains larger than yours. They survived for hundreds of thousands of years in Ice Age Europe, conditions that would kill you in a night. They made tools, used fire, wore clothing, cared for their injured, and buried their dead. They made art. They were, by every measure that matters, people. And here is the fact that should make you question how you think about yourself. They didn't just live alongside our ancestors. They mixed with them. If your roots are anywhere outside Africa, you are carrying around 1 to 2% Neanderthal DNA right now. they are not entirely gone. A little of them is reading this with you. The Neanderthals held on until about 40,000 years ago, and then they were gone, right around the time we arrived in force. Whether we killed them, outcompeted them, or simply absorbed them, nobody knows for certain. The Denisovans, and these are the ghosts, because we discovered an entire species of human almost without finding any of them. In a Siberian cave in 2008, researchers found a single fragment of a girl's pinky finger bone, smaller than a paperclip. They pulled DNA out of it, and the DNA matched nothing. Not us, not Neanderthals. It was a whole separate kind of human nobody knew existed. To this day, the physical remains of Denisovans amount to a few teeth, that finger bone, and a jaw. We have almost no bones, and yet we know they were real and widespread, and that they too interbred with us, because people living today in Oceania and New Guinea carry up to 5% Denisovan DNA, an entire branch of humanity, known mostly from the inside of living people's cells. We found them in us before we found them in the ground. Homo floresiensis. Then there's the strangest of all. On the Indonesian island of Flores, scientists found the bones of a human that stood 3.5 feet tall, a full-grown adult the size of a young child, with a brain the size of an orange. The nickname wrote itself, the Hobbit. It's an example of something that happens to creatures stranded on islands. They shrink generation after generation to survive on limited food. But here's the chilling part. These tiny humans were alive as recently as 50,000 years ago, which means that when our ancestors were spreading across the world, there were still 3-foot-tall humans with orange-sized brains making tools on an island in Indonesia. They were real, they were recent, and whatever happened to them is a mystery. Homo naledi. And one more, to show you how little we actually have settled. In 2013, deep inside a South African cave system, reachable only through a gap a few inches wide, explorers found hundreds of bones from a human species no one had ever seen. Homo naledi. It had a strange mix. Some features like ours, some far more primitive, and a brain about a third the size of yours. But the bones were deep inside an almost inaccessible chamber, hard to reach by accident, which raised a question that started a fight scientists are still having. Did this small-brained creature deliberately put its dead there? Did a thing with a brain the size of an orange perform something like a burial? If it did, everything we assumed about what kind of brain you need to care about death is wrong. We don't know. The argument is ongoing. Here is the thing nobody tells you. These were not a neat ladder, one turning into the next, climbing toward you. For most of this story, several kinds of human were alive at the very same time. 40,000 years ago, you could have stood on Earth and seen Homo sapiens, Neanderthals, Denisovans, and the Hobbits of Flores. Different species of human, sharing one planet, sometimes meeting, sometimes mating, sometimes fighting. The world had many kinds of human in it, the way it has many kinds of bear or big cat. And then, in a window that is shockingly short, all of them disappeared. Every branch but one went dark. The Neanderthals at 40,000 years, the Hobbits around 50, the Denisovans somewhere in the same stretch. One by one, the lights went out until the planet held a single kind of human, you. And we still don't fully know why. Were we smarter, more cooperative, more violent, just luckier in the right place when the climate turned? Did we kill them, outbreed them, starve them out, or simply outlast them? Every one of those answers has serious scientists behind it, and not one of them is proven. What we do know is this: you are not the inevitable peak of a ladder. You are the last survivor of a family that was once full of others, the only twig left on a branch that used to be covered in green. For 4 million years, being human meant being one of several. You are living through the strange, lonely exception, the brief moment when there is only one of us left. The others were here. They were real. Some of them are still inside you, and you are what's left.